Okay, Dr. Ron Cutler, Director of Biomedical Science Degree Programmes, Queen Mary, University of London.
And Tess Clarke, Marketing Manager at Milton, UK.
Well, we're particularly interested in the type of organisms that appear in the environment that can be any sort of human threat. And in this case, what we were looking for is the type of organisms associated with babies' dummies. Now, for that, what we did is we dropped some new dummies in different environments and looked for gross contamination found on those, and then we also looked at dummies that had been in babies' mouths and looked at the sort of contamination that we could find in those dummies. Now, as far as the environment goes, strangely enough, the worst place to drop a dummy seemed to be kitchens. And the organisms that you get in these sort of environments were mainly what we call environmental organisms, so pose no real danger to the baby, but it just shows and demonstrates that if you do drop a dummy on the floor, you've got a 1 in 10 chance of it, when you pick it up, that it's very heavily contaminated. Now, as far as the dummies from babies goes, what we did there is we examined over 40 different dummies, and in that we found something like 10% to 16% were heavily contaminated. Now, in this case, the organisms that we're dealing with was a thing called enterococcus, and it normally comes from feces. So one can only imagine where some of these babies were getting their dummies contaminated. Nevertheless, what we've found is that for the most part, the dummies were actually quite clean. So it's only those 10% we had to really worry about.
And how this relates back to the listeners in Cheshire, I can inform you that around 9,100 babies are born each year in Cheshire. So what that means is for babies using soothers, up to a fifth of those soothers could be potentially contaminated with this harmful bacteria that Dr. Cutler's referenced there. And as a mum, what that actually really means is a poorly baby, upset tummies, family disruption, sleepless nights. And these are all things that as parents we all want to avoid. We want to make sure we are protecting our baby from these harmful germs and that we're not that 1 in 10, where the dummy is really contaminated and our baby becomes unwell.
As far as the dummies that had been used by babies, basically we found this organism called Enterococcus faecalis. It's normally present in the human gut. One of the nasty things it tends to do is carry multiple drug resistance, so it's often an antibiotic-resistant bacteria, and it can cause urinary tract infections and gut infections. Well, we did drop these new dummies in several places in the environment, and surprisingly, we found that the kitchen wasn't a good place to drop your baby's dummy, nor were the soft play areas. Probably less surprising. But we would have thought, from our previous experience with kitchens, most kitchen floors are pretty clean, but in this case, something like 10% of the kitchen floors that we dropped the dummies on seem to be pretty heavily contaminated, and these were with organisms which could in some way cause food poisoning.
Well, here at Milton, we recommend sterilising a baby soother up until the child's first birthday because a baby's immunity is particularly low around 6 months old and it doesn't reach its full potential till later on in the child's life. So we really do recommend that for the first year, parents are vigilant and aware of the need to sterilise their soother. Being a parent myself and having a baby that's used a dummy, I know how much babies spit out their dummies and throw them. So it's really being aware that this is a product that's constantly being sort of expelled from a buggy, and as it's got baby saliva and it's a moist area for bacteria to harbour. When it's dropped, it very, very, very quickly picks up bacteria. And if the parents are putting that then back into the baby's mouth, you're exposing them to the harmful germs that we've spoken about. All you really need to do is make sure that you've got a sterile soother, and we've got a handy portable device here at Milton. You can attach it to your buggy, so you've always got a clean, sterilised soother handy to give parents the peace of mind that you're protecting your baby as much as you all want to do. We've got a team of experts here at Milton that are ready and waiting to answer any questions that parents have, both about the research and also just protecting your baby in general from harmful germs within the environment that we've spoken about. You can go to the Milton Facebook page and post your questions there, or get in touch with us, and we'd be really happy to help and hear from mums.